Welcome to the Dynamic Metahuman Animation Kit feature overview video, where I'll be walking you through the demo/level that comes with the pack. When you first play the level, you'll have a screen that looks like this. There's some instructions at the bottom here for how to move your camera and to look around. So to move around, you use the Q, W, E, S, D, E, A, S, D keys. To move the camera, you want to right mouse button hold and move your mouse. The reason for that is because you have all these buttons you can press with your mouse. And then the final instruction down here is to engage the player eye tracking. You will want to move around in front of them, but you do need to turn that on first. We'll get to that here in a second. The last hotkey instructions you want to be aware of are that you can hit M to open up the documentation. Definitely want to read through that. It's going to go into a lot more detail than I do here in the video. You want to hit Y to open up the YouTube tutorial playlist. You can press X to toggle the HUD on and off. Currently it's a little sensitive. The next version will have a fix for that. You have to press it very quickly. You can press G to toggle the engine scalability, which is the graphics quality. If you're playing an editor, you will see up in the upper corner what the current version is on. So it just said that I'm on cinematic, now I'm on low, now I'm on medium. You start off on medium. You can hit escape to close the demo or play an editor window. And then finally, you can press Z to contact me. Questions, suggestions, comments, whatever you got, I'm here for it. So the first thing to be aware of in this demo level is that all of the features are off by default. And that is just so that if you decide that you want to be looking at just the animations, you can do so in a clean way without any kind of dynamic features overriding things or altering the animation quality. And it's also a good way to learn the features as you turn each one on individually. Also, when you start off, there will be no animations playing. So by default, this no additive animation button is on, this no base body animation is on. So let's start bringing in some animations and playing with the features. This head stabilized default body animation is very subtle. It's mostly just the hips wiggling around, but it's just to keep some keep alive on the character. More natural body animations are available from the game animation pack. You have your standing idle here and your crouch idle, or you can go back to the no animation. It's just that body pose. Actually, we're going to click on the stand idle so that we have some visible idle keep alive. And we're going to click on the no blinks, no eye darts intermediary animation, which is head and neck animation mostly, a little bit of body. And I can show you here, turn off the base animation to see exactly what I'm talking about. It's just a very slight amount of keep alive. What's very important to notice is that this keep alive is connected to the eye animation keep alive. The eyes are stabilized in relation to how much this body and head is moving around. This is important for maintaining the best quality eyeline moving forward as you bring in additives and different methods of control. I'm going to go ahead and bring back the standing base body idle animation, and we'll start playing with some features. Now, nothing about the dynamic eye rig will work unless you have this top one. Switch to on. On will be the right side for all the sliders. But even still, it is not turned on, it's just set to be allowed on. So to turn it on, you will want to turn on this next one, which is the option to look at you while you're moving, or basically while you're not idling. If I stop moving, she looks away, and that's set by this third slider here, time to exit player look at. If I move it up a lot more and stop doing anything, she looks at me for much longer and then eventually will look away. If you don't want that behavior, you can turn that off, of course, but you can always force the head and neck tracking on. This is just the body look at. For instance, if I turn the look at player on and off, the body is looking at me, but the eyes aren't. I can turn that back on to bring back the eyes. I can also turn on eye tracking always on to force that behavior, ignoring the look away after an idle period. It's also important to notice that this will not respect the limitations. So if we turn that off and we bring back the player look at, and we move outside of her eye range, she will look away. She will not try to break her eyeballs. So the head neck is always on, so let's see. If I turn that off, you can see now the behavior of me moving away. She gives up on looking at me. She can still see me here, so she's got me in her vision. But if you keep these always on, you will be able to get some pretty broken eyes. So you want to be aware of that. We're gonna keep these on for now, just to get a more striking pose of our character. The next dynamic option is dynamic blinking. With dynamic blinking, you're gonna get a slightly more performant blink rather than running these very dense, long face animations with lots of keys and data. It is running a timer, a randomized timer to run the blinks, so there is a performance give and take there. But this is dynamic in that it can be adjusted with variables. The blinking rate, if you move it to the left, you'll get a much more frequent blink, good for maybe someone that's, I don't know, nervous. The blinking tiredness, it controls both how long it takes to go in and out of the blink, but also how long the blink is held. So if you were to crank that way up and maybe have a lot of blinking, you would have a very sleepy kind of person. And it's important to note that the blink does not look as good as it possibly could here, and that is because of the dynamic look at. So if you want perfect eye poses, it's recommended that you don't use the dynamic eye rig, but for most gameplay scenarios, this is perfectly fine. You can crank the blinking rate higher to have more pause in between each blink. And finally, it's important to note that each metahuman runs its own blink timer, so they're not all blinking at the same time. They all have their own randomized settings within what we're setting here. So now, in order to see the dynamic eye darts, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the always on eye tracking. The reason that she's still looking at me is because I have this time to exit player look at set to very high. So I turn that down, she looks away. I'm gonna go ahead and point out that there is a reset all settings button down here if you want to just return to the basic default settings, which is very helpful considering there are so many settings. For the dynamic eye darts, again, they won't work unless the dynamic eye rig is allowed. So I've cranked this all the way up. That means that the eye darts are going to be at their largest possible distance, moving from one dart to the other. If I turn it down, you'll see that the darts have become shorter in distance. Eye dart frequency is what it sounds like. To the right is longer distance between each dart. To the left, almost down to 0, will give you very, very, very quick, frequent darts. It's important to note that you will not get your updated frequency immediately. You need to wait like 2 or 3 darts to get your new timing. So be patient when you adjust the slider. Very frequent large darts can give you, a nervous kind of person. But just using a little bit of each will give you a very sort of natural keep alive. Then dynamic eye saccades simulate the finite random jitter that real human eyes do because of the rapid twitch fire nature of human eyeballs. Cranking that up, it increases the size as well as the speed, but a small amount of it will give you something more natural. Next up, we have dynamic breathing, which controls blend space for the body and the head. They're synced, and they are utilizing a curve which measures the inhale exhale curve inside the animations up against the shoulders and spine to create this sort of breathing effect in the body that's driven by an animation, but it's not an animation. It's driven by the face animation. So you can adjust that effect with the breathing shoulders multiplier. Now you see that the shoulders are moving up and down more, but it's important to note it's not just the shoulders. There's spine. And the last thing that the control rig is doing is it's re-aiming the arms back at where they should be, because otherwise raising the clavicles in this manner would send the arm out like this. So the breathing speed multiplier is going to just increase the overall play rate of the animation. Now, it's important to note that this is separate from the overall animation speed setting that we have here affecting almost everything else, and that's by design. I'm going to bring the speed back down to normal. So all the way to the left is no breathing. This is low breathing, medium breathing, and heavy breathing. The blend space is set to go from 0 to 100. I have this slider set to clamp at 33%, 66%, 100%. The animations can blend, they just don't look nearly as good. Hoping in future versions to retool the breathing animations to be a little bit more modular in this fashion. And to that end, I want to just improve the animation in general. But for now, you have a nice range that works on top of any other feature. The next features are overlook, underlook. This is a posture and gaze effector. giving you drastic emotional change, while more or less maintaining the eyeline that we had established. Neck in and out doesn't affect the face. This is just sort of a body posture adjustment, mostly affecting the base of the neck, but there is some lower body sort of lean in and back that comes with that. These two combined can really change the effect of your desired emotion. Finally, we have this aim offsets here that affect the eyes. Important to note that these are operating outside of the dynamic rig. These are operating outside of the face post-process blueprint. So these are in the actual face blueprint, and these are aim offsets. If you're using it in conjunction with the player look at, you can rather quickly run into issues. See here, it's fighting against the look at, and so it really shouldn't be used in conjunction with this. Rather, it should be used to support basic non-dynamic animations and push poses. Proximity discomfort's a fun one. This one takes the location of the player camera in relation to the character's nose. So the closer you get to the nose, the more that they are going to recoil in discomfort, disgust, whatever it is you want to call that face. Go ahead and turn off the eye rig and the head tracking. So you can see it's just recoiling backwards now, not paying attention to the direction that you're coming at. So future versions will probably utilize a control rig that is more paying attention to where you are. But right now, this is a fairly effective trick. Note that playing with the slider affects both the intensity of the expression and the distance at which it takes to kick in. Those distances and things can be edited more fine-tuned inside of the blueprint component. Variables for that aren't exposed here. I'm going to turn on an animation here with a good amount of head and neck animation to look at this next feature, the head neck jitter smoother. This is a control rig that's built to basically do what it says, smooth out the animation in the neck and head. A little bit of it will remove jitter that comes with most mocap, LiveLink. A little bit can even kind of change the feeling of attitude of the performance. A lot of it will almost completely drown out the head and neck animation and make it very, very slow and sluggish. These can be used for different things. It's just important to note that it's fairly destructive and should be used with caution. Any use of this at all will blow away the eye stabilization that had been built into the keep alive animations. For most cases, it's going to be too small of a thing for most to notice, but if you're trying to get very, very, very polished, you might want to avoid that one. Finally, we have allow LiveLink here. I'll have a separate video for this, but because of the way that LiveLink is set up, it will override a bunch of what was done here. The plan is for future versions to be more integrated with LiveLink. You will have to set up LiveLink the old-fashioned way on your metahuman character. More in that other video. Down here, we have additive poses. These are just single poses that can be added on top of animations, whatever, they're always on. It's important to note that you can absolutely break your character by turning them all on. So do be aware of your reset settings here. Running through all the poses, we have happy, sad, contempt, stoked, disgust, squint, fake happy, angry, shocked, scared, kiss. I was going for that meme face. Blow, lips closed. You won't see much if the lips are already closed. And then jaw open. Finally, we have pupil dilate, contract. Just discovered that that's not working on every character for some reason, so I will have to investigate that. It is likely in future versions that there will be some kind of dynamic pupil dilation control rig implemented. All right, so those are all the dynamic settings and additive poses. Now let's take a look at the animations. Again, returning to the base body idles. We have that standing one that's got the head stabilized. There's the game animation example, idle standing, game animation example, idle crouched, and then there's no animation at all. We're going to go ahead and do the stand idle. Want to go ahead and get that intermediary, no blinks, no eye darts, keep alive animation, and we'll take a look at these. So the effort anims are one-time plays, sort of like a montage action. They're not using montages though. They're sending a animation sequence to both the head and neck. It's important to note that the effort anims will work with a lot of the dynamic features. The override anim loops will override a lot of them. And that's on purpose because the dynamic iRig can really throw things off, say like when you're crying or blinking a lot, you don't want to have them competing. So when we click on these override anim loops, it's turning off the iRig behind the scenes. So we have some long yells. Short ah, short oh, short ya, short grimace, short hit oof, short yeah, short hit ah, and blinking reaction you may recognize. And so if you have any of these override anim loops playing, it will return to those animations afterwards because they are just set to loop forever. Let's take a look at those loops. For high quality versions of these animations, if you want to see on the YouTube playlist, there's a render you can see, a board loop, Saccades loop, Rhine loop. I would love to improve about all of these animations, but really needed to get the version 1 out. Scared loop, angry loop, eating loop, we got happy loop, laughing loop, injured loop, screaming loop, favorite. This is a good one to test the head neck jitter smoother. Almost all of that tension has gone away. Rage loop. And seductive loop. The final setting is down here. We have an override anim speed. It should probably be called global anim speed. It's for everything except the base body animations. If I crank that way up, now we have some Benny Hill style eating. It does not affect the breathing because the breathing has its own speed multiplier. The last thing I'll note is if you leave the demo and you're in the editor, there are additional things you can do that aren't in the HUD widget control board. For instance, you can stop the rotation rate of this platform here or increase it. But in addition to the rotating platform, you can open up any one of the characters, enter the Dynamic Metahuman Animation Kit component that has been added to each one. In here, details panel, you'll have everything that we just looked at in the HUD control board and a few more things. For instance, proximity discomfort has a close distance and an end distance that you can play with. Other things that aren't included are this player awareness tick duration, and this could save you some processing power if you were to just raise this up a little bit. Too high of a number here will kind of give you a bit of a jerky awareness, so beware of that. The other thing not in the HUD is the eye angle to disable eye tracking. This is the point at which, the cone of vision, if you're outside of it, they give up trying to look at you so that they don't break their eyes. This is that setting to allow LiveLink. Now, you will need to enable LiveLink the old-fashioned way, which involves going into your Metahuman class defaults, and it's here under the LiveLink section. There will be a separate tutorial video for that. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, fortunes, scary stories, secrets that you have to get off of your chest. I'm here. Thanks.